Hello and welcome to Called Bank Sports. Tonight, the Utah Jazz lost a close game to the Phoenix Suns by a final score of 105-97, with Devin Booker absolutely dominating the first quarter, scoring 21 points and then scoring another 22 points in the game to end the game with 43 points. Absolutely incredible game by him, and really disappointing that we didn't get to see him play against Donovan Mitchell tonight. Rudy Gobert also sat out for the Utah Jazz. Donovan Mitchell continues to be in concussion protocols, though I believe Mitchell will be back soon. I think I heard this Friday, but not entirely positive on that. And Gobert has some calf issues, and hopefully he will be back soon. Obviously, the Jazz missing their top two players isn't really the recipe for success. But to be fair, the Suns were also missing JaVale McGee, DeAndre Ayton, and Jay Crowder. So I do think the Jazz were in a worse scenario, obviously, but it definitely wasn't a cakewalk for the Suns either. And after the Jazz got absolutely destroyed in the first half, going into the second quarter down by about 20, I frankly thought this game was over. And to watch the Jazz fight back in the second quarter to make it a 2-point game going into the half, watch them lose that a bit in the third quarter, but come back in the fourth quarter was absolutely incredible. It shows that there's a lot of heart. Trent Forrest had just a really good game with some really good plays. He ended up being, in his 14 minutes, he was -4, only had 4 points, but I think he's definitely earning some play with the way that he plays defense. I'm interested to see what happens. He rolled his ankle stepping on Joe's foot or tripping over Joe, so I don't know what's going to happen there, but fingers crossed that he is healthy and will be able to get back to playing conditions soon. He was listed as available to return, but I do know with injuries like that, you can run into the issue where the next day when the swelling starts, that's when the break is going to be necessary. So other things to look at, Hassan Whiteside had a really good game tonight, and we're going to get into some stuff on him right after this. But I do want to point out, in his 35 minutes, he was 7 of 10 from the field, only 2 of 5 from the free throw line. So that's a bit less than you'd like to see. But he had 11 total rebounds. He was plus 11 in the game and had 16 points. Like a pretty good game from Hassan Whiteside. But that technical foul towards the end of the game, where the Jazz were down by 4, Mike Conley was going to have an opportunity to shoot free throws, but Hassan got the foul, got the tech, and the Suns go down, and they're able to not only make the free throw, but get 2 points, and it goes from the possibility of Mike making it a 2-point game, at least making it a 1-possession game, to all of a sudden it being a 7-point game. Really just kind of took the game out of the Jazz's hands. Now, to be fair, I don't think Utah was going to pull it out. But discipline is really, really key. And Hassan Whiteside needed to, whatever happened there, I'm not sure, but he needed to be an adult about the situation and to keep his calm. And obviously, to be fair, I believe it was towards the end of the third quarter, Quinn Snyder definitely was laying into the ref, and I am floored that he did not get a technical foul called. And so while obviously a technical foul at any point in the game isn't good, and these guys all need to keep their head, you can't just give the other team points like that. Hassan's definitely looks worse, just based solely on the fact, of when it was and how big of an impact it had on the final score. Again, I don't think the Jazz are going to win, but you need to execute down the stretch. That is something that the Jazz have struggled with when it comes to just, having the ball in the court and playing. So to mess that up is understandable but frustrating, and this really just feels like something that Hassan should have had under control, and it takes away from him having a really good game in the absence of Rudy Gobert. And that's how I feel about that. Now, there's definitely some improvement that needs to happen, and when you look at the Jazz team statistics, they shot 43% from the field. That doesn't cut it. They did shoot 12 of 30 from 3 for 40%. That's great, but the Jazz do need to increase their shooting percentage as a whole. When your overall shooting percentage is only 3% better than your 3-point shooting percentage, that's definitely not where it needs to be at. 17 of 23 from the free throw line. I'd like to see them shoot better, but 74% is a pretty good percentage. Jazz were out-rebounded, which is to be expected when you only have one center. The Suns have been starting Biyombo in place of Ayton, as Ayton has been out. And I'm not actually sure who they have playing their backup center. But Biyombo, actually, let me check his stat line and see how many rebounds he was able to get tonight. He only got 6 rebounds. Booker actually is the guy who had an incredible rebounding game with 12 rebounds. So not only did he put up 43 points, he had 12 rebounds and 4 assists. So just outstanding game by him. And again, really disappointing that we didn't get to see Donovan Mitchell try to match that tonight. Steals, 6 for each team. Suns more than doubled the Jazz on blocks with 8 blocks to 4 blocks. And turnovers ended up being a really big point in this game. Like always, like we talk about a lot. The Jazz had 16 turnovers and allowed the Suns to score 22 points off of that, compared to 9 turnovers that the Jazz were able to score 10 points off of. So that's a 12-point difference in an 8-point game. And at this point, I am just understanding of the fact that the Jazz will turn the ball over and they will have poor transition defense. And while I do not, and you look at fast break points in this game, which is really similar to points of turnovers in my mind, I understand that they're not always the same, but it's easiest to get out and run when you off turnovers. The Suns had 22 points to 3 points for the Jazz. So comparing those two stats really just shows that the Jazz still are continuing to struggle in the fast break, defending that. And I will cut them some slack because, they are running more bench guys than they're used to. And while they still struggle with Rudy Gobert and Donovan on the court, I would imagine they would have had a better game with them on the court. Even if they allowed those points, they would have been able to better match it offensively. Those are just two categories, turn the ball over too much and let the Suns get out and run too much. And everywhere else, the Jazz stayed pretty close. But in that particular in those categories, the Jazz were blown out, and that cost them the game. So those are my takeaways. I'm not super concerned about these last 3 games. It is really depressing. But, when you're missing Donovan Mitchell and then you're missing Donovan and Rudy, I don't know what to expect. And I hope they're both backing into Memphis. Jazz really need to pick up a win there, especially for the tiebreak, which seems like it could end up playing a big part in final seeding for the West. So thank you guys again. Please like wherever you're at. Please give us a follow. We really appreciate it. We are pushing for 500 on one of our platforms, and we'd really love to get to that number soon, especially before the All-Star break. So please help us get there. Leave a comment. We love to continue the discussion. Thanks so much for watching, and go Jazz.